Hey YouTube fam, it's Daughter of the Most High. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing so well. I'm at the end of my chapter of unemployment. I'm starting work Monday at a temporary position. And so it's been a glorious time in so many ways, and just enjoying pursuing some of my own interests, being able to rest when I need to rest. I've been sleeping better. I've been spending time in the Word and with the Lord, and it's just been wonderful. And I just am not feeling the pressure that I've had to feel for so long. Really, it feels like forever. I was a burdened child. So anytime you're a burdened child because of your family's dysfunction, you're carrying that extra weight, of fear and anxiety, depression, what's going to happen next, all the worries of children that grow up in dysfunction. And so I felt burdened as a kid, and pressured and burdened as an adult. And so, as I've shared with you, the last 5 years of my life have been normal living, really for the first time in my life, and very much improved living prior to that, but still having to deal with some issues, mostly with my kid's dad. And so I'm so grateful for the place that I'm at and the way that the Lord has blessed me with time that I needed, just to not be pressured, to just be able to hop on my bike and go, to be able to walk my dogs, to read in the sun, to spend time in prayer when I want, when I feel like it. I've loved it. So I am so thankful to God for that season, but I'm starting work Monday. We'll see how that goes. And I will be part-time. I'll probably be about 20 to 25 hours a week plus drive time. The job is and just about an hour away, so that's an hour on each end of my work day. So but hopefully it'll go well. It is secular treatment, and I really want to move into ministry. Really have such a strong desire to move into ministry. And I've been praying about that. God, what do you have for me? So I'm looking forward to what God has for me. I am a counselor, and so I may work in some type of counseling. I don't have a master's degree. I have a bachelor's and my LADC. And my LADC is licensed alcohol and drug counselor. So typically you need that higher education, whereas my bachelor's and my LADC are like parallel. It's not higher education, meaning master's level, for counseling. So I think I may have to do it under a ministry heading, and then just take donations to supplement Social Security. So that's my tentative plan, but I want to do what God has for me. That is my heart and desire at this time. So that's my personal update. If I can just share, I see the Lord working in both my kids' lives. I've prayed, of course, like parents do every single day, for God to draw them in and awaken them, and to awaken them to His, biblical worldview, to drop the scales from their eyes so that they can see God. Now, we are not all the way there, but I see progress in my kids, and I'm so grateful for that. So I have just been enjoying that as well. So yeah, things are just in a good spot, which is nice. Another thing that I want to share with you is that, and I shared a little bit about this on a previous video. It's about Angela Ucci, and she's UCCI. So I didn't know how to pronounce that initially, but it's Ucci. And she is a former New Ager, and just on fire for God, and her channel is doing great. And today, when I was resting, doing the Sabbath rest and watching this video, she is interviewing Tailah. Tailah is Tailah. I've never heard of that name before, but Tailah Scroggins. She's a former New Ager, not in as deep as Angela, but still into it. And so the two feel like they are like soul sisters. And the interview is so good, and they're both so knowledgeable about the word and so on fire for God. It is contagious. I'm going to tell you, it's so contagious. So don't be put off if you are someone that really has not gotten into New Age, and don't even know somebody that has. Don't let that sway you. The interview is still so good. New Age is infiltrating the church, certain churches on various levels, and it's wrong. We are not to have any other gods before us. We are not to coexist. You know, that license plate, or not bumper sticker, I should say, not license plate, bumper sticker, coexist. And it sounds so noble and wonderful to coexist. And it doesn't mean that, I am for hurting or harming people that are struggling with the issues, or maybe completely just embracing the issues of the day. But we're not to coexist. There's one God, and that's the first commandment. We shall have no gods before him. So New Age is seeping into the church, at an alarming rate. And particularly with young Christians, sometimes older Christians too. I've seen it. They're talking about positive vibes, all this vibe stuff. And, I understand that there's a certain feel to things, like a vibe to things, but I don't even use the word vibe anymore, ever, and haven't for years, because of the New Age infiltrating everything, particularly the church. And so I don't use that term. I just will say, wow, it's really kind of heavy or dark in here, or, something like that. I'm not going to say there's a negative vibe in here. And that would have been okay some years ago, but New Age is too prevalent now. No thanks. So, and I don't want to be mistaken for somebody that's doing the mix. I'm not a mixer. I'm biblical. So, I'm going to link below the video it's from Heaven and Healing Podcast, which is Angela's podcast. And she titled it Demonic Lies to Divine Truth, Walking with Jesus with Tailah Scroggins. And Tailah, I think it's Tailah, because it sounds like closed captioning. I use closed captioning a lot, and it transcribes that as Taylor, like you're saying Taylor, like you got it's Tailah. So again, it's just so good, so interesting, and it's so important to educate yourself on what's going on in young people's lives, and in young Christian lives, and unbelievers' lives, in the church. And they do such a good job, and they're both so on fire for the Lord, and their ministries are growing. And Angela's 29. I'm not sure how old Tailah is. She's pretty young. And they are just on fire for God and knowledgeable. It's shocking to me. There's so many believers that have been longtime believers, myself included, prior to God awakening me to the narrow path, the corruption in government, and all that kind of stuff the past 5 years. These girls are light years ahead of me as far as where they are in their walk as believers, at such a young age. Young Christian age, and young age, chronological age. So I just found I loved the interview. I did. And so I would like to share it with you. And they do talk about the different things that are New Age. And I also watched Tailah on Isaiah Salvador, his interview with her, and they were talking about this personality book. Hang on a second. I forgot the name of it. I'm going to look it up quick. Okay. I just looked it up on Amazon, and I don't know if this is the book they were talking about in the interview, but there's several books. This is The Wisdom of the Enneagram. Enne is Enne, The Complete Guide to Psychological and Spiritual Growth for the 9 Personality Types. And this leans so heavily into New Age, and it is something that Christians should not be reading. They said that there's churches drawing attention to this book, like they will share it in their announcements and messages, this Christian book that's so popular and in Christian circles, and they should not be doing this. This is, again, the mix of New Age with Christian faith. And I personally am not saying that there aren't personality types. I think most people can see that there are varying personality types. Like, I'm an introvert. Most people are extroverts. There are fewer introverts than extroverts. Introverts need that quiet time. They need space, like maybe just hanging out alone to rejuvenate. Extroverts get their energy from being social. They have a much higher need for social interaction, whereas introverts need that quiet time to rejuvenate. So that's just one piece of personality, let alone the type A's that are goal-oriented, type B's that are not as goal-oriented as type A's. They still accomplish things, but they're not so driven. Type A's are driven people, and it's very hard for them to ever stop or slow down. They're the ones in society that accomplish way more than us type B's. I'm a type B. I can get things done, but do I want to run from morning till night? No. So those are just a couple of things. We see that there are different types of personalities. There's the wallflower, which is not necessarily an introvert. It's somebody that's more just quiet socially. Whereas there's the boisterous people, the class clown, the ones that are highly intelligent and academic, the ones that are more artistic. There are personality types. But this book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram, is a mix of New Age and Christian faith, which is an abomination to God. So just a heads up there. So they talk about that, and that's important to know. That's so important for believers to know about, because the church is so soft right now. And do you know that Jesus warned us not to be deceived several times in the Word, especially regarding the end times? Our time is short, and the enemy is working overtime to affect and infect Christians and unbelievers, to draw us away from God. For believers, he wants to take us down a path that will take us away from the things of God and hopefully open doors to him. We know that. And then, of course, always bringing confusion and darkness and, paths that do not lead to God, but lead to, some level of darkness. And again, it may not be like demonic and dark, like, the goth or occultic type things. It may just be something that's not of God, that seems good, like the Enneagram book, the personality book. So not everything of the devil is pitchfork and, the horns and, the sirens blaring. It's not. It's very deceptive and subtle. It's subtly deceptive. And there are Christians that are more New Age than Christian that call themselves Christian. I have seen it. And they're so deceived. So we've got to be wise. Those of us that educate ourselves can point the direction for people that are deceived. Now, I was deceived for a while. I shared about that when I had just a few videos ago, when I remember when I was running errands, and I saw one of those library boxes, and I stopped and I looked, and there was Embraced by the Light by Betty Eadie. And I took the book and then I stopped at a gas station and threw it out. So I don't want anybody else to be deceived if possible. I was deceived because I was having such a hard time finding God, reading the Word, absorbing the Word, and understanding things. And I was so hungry, but yet so frustrated with my Christian walk and that happens. They were talking about that on the interview as well, that sometimes young Christians are trying to find their way and they can't find their way, so they either give up or try other things like crystals, like the Enneagram book, like Betty Eady, Embraced by the Light. You're trying to find something that satisfies that hunger to know God. And you think, I thought I was okay and on track, and I didn't realize how off track I was. Breaks my heart. So, boy, the enemy was, working overtime in my life to lead me astray years ago. So, it's important for us to educate ourselves, and so that we can watch out for ourselves, for others, and stay on the right path, the God path. You will be inspired by the level of commitment and knowledge and just zeal that these young girls have for the Lord, and how knowledgeable they are as young believers. I find it so encouraging and so impressive, and it lights a little fire as you watch it. So those of us that have been a Christian for a long time may not have quite as much fire as these two former New Agers that are so excited to be on the path, God's path once again, and to be in truth. And so I just encourage you to watch the video. It's so good. You can look up Isaiah Saldivar's interview with Tailah Scroggins as well. Everything on, I'm new to Tailah. I'm more familiar with Angela. You could click on Angela's YouTube channel and just enjoy any of her videos. God is so using that young girl. So that's all I have for you today. I'll look for the link in the description. Be blessed in every way, fam. I will see you soon.